Good morning, students. Hello, friends. Welcome to Ashoka Online Academy Daily Current Affairs Program. Today, we are going to discuss about 25th August current affairs from various national and regional newspapers like the Hindu, Enadu, and the official Government of India website, the Press Information Bureau. So, let us start our current affairs program. So, every day you will learn new things from this particular program. I can assure you that. Yesterday I told you how UPSC will give the hints, suggestions to the students about what it will ask in future, okay, or what are its focus areas which it is going to ask question in future. Same pattern yesterday we have seen the Arunachal Pradesh, okay, and Northeast. Today we are going to see how UPSC will give suggestions to the students and also ask the questions from a particular area. Okay, today we take the example of Andaman Nicobar Islands region. So we will understand that over a period of time. Please follow the class, then only you can make or utilize this particular quiz session. Okay, so thank you very much for following and your encouragement. Okay, kindly share this with your friends so that they will benefit from this initiative. Okay, so see here, today we will start with this particular 25th August current affairs, okay, in the Ashoka Online Academy Daily Current Affairs program. Let us start with the topic biodiversity. Let us start with the topic of biodiversity. So what is this biodiversity related topic? IUCN and IUCN Red Data Book. Now why it is in news? Why it is in news? Why this topic is in news? It is in news because an environmental NGO, global environmental NGO, and the conservation scientists working at the global level, they have petitioned to IUCN that remove the category of least concern, from the IUCN Red Data Book. Why? Because there is no life form on the planet Earth which is not facing threat. Okay. All the life forms on the planet Earth are facing one or other kind of threats because of the global warming and climate change. Please remove that category, least concern category, from the IUCN Red Data Book. That was the news, and because of that we need to discuss this particular topic of IUCN Red Data Book. So just see here, IUCN publishes the Red Data Book in various categories. Why it is in news? Again I am repeating, because the NGOs, they petition that remove this least concern category. Why? Because all the creatures on the planet Earth are facing one form or other form of threats because of global warming and climate change. So remove this, okay, category. So for that it is in news, but that is just a news. By reading that news you will not get anything. You need to go background, you need to understand about the background of a particular news article, then only it will be useful for you in the competitive examinations at national and state level. Simply reading newspaper doesn't make any sense. You have to go to the background of those particular news related topics. So I will give a brief introduction. About the IUCN and what is this IUCN Red Data Book. Very simple, understand this very clearly. All these points are simply mentioned here. IUCN established in the year 1948. So what is this IUCN? IUCN means International Union. It means International Union for conservation of nature and natural resources, for conservation of nature, IUCN. So what is this IUCN? It is the global environmental NGO, okay, and it is the oldest global environmental NGO, started in the year 1948 with its headquarters in the city of Gland in Switzerland. See here, the IUCN, you have two programs under it. One is Global Species Program, other is Species Survival Commission. Okay, what they are doing, they are assessing the status of species from the last 50 years under IUCN. So IUCN has got two major programs. So what are the two major programs of IUCN? The two major programs of IUCN are Global Species Program. Second is Species Survival Commission. Very simple. The Global Species Program, what it will do is simply it will identify the various species, plants, animals and fungi that are present on the planet Earth. Second is that what it will do, it will just locate the habitats of this particular species, plants, animals and fungi. Third is that it will identify the various threats to this particular plants, animals and fungi. So this is Global Species Program. Identifying the particular species, identifying the habitats of particular species, identifying the threats of particular species. It is the job of Global Species Program. Then what the Species Survival Commission will do? The Species Survival Commission will come out with various scientific measures for the protection and conservation of species that are facing threats. Okay, very simple. So these two programs of IUCN, they are the backbone of the IUCN. And what they do together, they evaluate the global biodiversity and they identify the habitats of the species at the global level, and they also find the various threats. At the same time, they come out with the solutions to protect that particular species of plants, animals and fungi. And finally, they publish what is called as Red Data Book. Red Data Book. So what is this Red Data Book? A Red Data Book comprises of the list of species at the global level that are facing different types of threats, and based on the threats they are facing, the species are classified into 9 categories in the Red Data Book. Very simple. Okay, they identified the species here, Global Species Program, Species Survival Commission. They identified the threat, then they list out that particular species in the Red Data Book in 9 categories. Okay, so this is how the Red Data Book is bought by the IUCN. From the last 50 years they are doing it. Apart from Red Data Book, IUCN is also releasing World Heritage Outlook Report. World Heritage Outlook Report. So don't confuse this. World Heritage Outlook Report is released by UNESCO Heritage Site. No relation between these two. World Heritage Outlook Report is the Global Biodiversity Assessment Report released by the IUCN. Remember this for prelims. UPSC and the groups TSPSC Group 1 and Group 2 prelims level exams. Then IUCN releases Red Data Book every year. This also you remember. Okay, Red Data Book they release every year and it comprises of 9 categories. Then once in 4 years, IUCN will conduct a meeting at the global level called as World Conservation Congress meeting. World Conservation Congress meeting is conducted by IUCN once in 4 years. Okay, once in 4 years. Many people don't know this. Okay, now we don't know that. We came to know recently that India recognized the IUCN way back in 1969 itself, and in 1969 the World Conservation Congress meeting is held in India in New Delhi. It's held in India in New Delhi. Remember this fact very clearly. So these are all the various facts. IUCN is there. It's a global environmental NGO. Okay. Scientists, conservation scientists and environmentalists from all over the world will be part of this particular NGO, and they meet once in 4 years with the name World Conservation Congress. In India, World Conservation Congress is held in 1969 only one time, and that is last time. In 2021, World Conservation Congress is going to held in the coming months, 2 or 3 months in the France country. Remember these things very clearly. World Heritage Outlook Report released by IUCN. Red Data Book is released by IUCN once in a year in 9 categories. The meeting of IUCN is held once in 4 years in the name World Conservation Congress. So these are all the basic facts about the IUCN. Okay, its headquarters is in Switzerland. Okay, city of Gland in Switzerland. So see here, this is the IUCN Red Data book, okay, where it publishes the, okay, this particular Red Data book in 9 categories. I mean, the species are mentioned in 9 categories. So first is extinct, second is extinct in the wild, third is critically endangered, fourth is endangered, fifth is vulnerable, sixth is near threatened, seventh least concern, eighth data deficient, ninth not evaluated. Very simple, very simple. See here, if any of the species is facing threat, they are simply kept in this particular various categories of IUCN Red Data book. For example, see here, critically endangered. From India, there is a bird species called as Great Indian Bustard. Great Indian Bustard. It is a bird species. Okay. According to Government of India reports, there are less than 150 Great Indian Bustard birds in India. That means their population is decreasing. So since their population is decreasing because of various threats, they are placed in critically endangered category of IUCN Red Data book. Understand that very clearly. Okay. Now, if you take the one-horn rhino, so this one-horn rhino, it is placed in the vulnerable category of IUCN Red Data book. Understand that. If you take this particular Indian tiger, it is placed in the endangered category. Indian elephant, it is placed in endangered category. Like that, various types of species facing different types of threats are categorized, are kept in these categories of IUCN Red Data book. Now, if you observe very clearly, you have to remember this particular categories. So, if you see this, threatened categories means these three are threatened categories. That means the species are threatened. If you go from the bottom to top, if you go, the risk of extinction of a species is increasing. Understand that very clearly. Okay, are you getting the things? So see here, extinct. If you see extinct, from India, Asiatic cheetah. From India, Asiatic cheetah became extinct. It is no more. It is no more in India. Understand that very clearly. Okay. So this is how it is. Okay. So these are all the various categories of IUCN Red Data book. Why it is in news? It is in news. Why? Because many people asked the IUCN to remove this least concern category of Red Data books. Understand that very clearly. So in the environment class, I have discussed only on IUCN Red Data book. 2 hours classes there, that is available in the app. You can subscribe to it. So currently there are more than 1,34,400 species on IUCN Red Data book. See here, of all the global level species we know, there are 1,34,400 species in the IUCN Red Data book, with more than 37,400 species threatened with extinction, including 41% of amphibians, 34% of conifers, that is flowering plants, 33% of coral reefs, and 26% of mammals and 14% of birds. So of the total population of the birds, 14% birds are in this particular IUCN Red Data book categories. Of the total percentage of mammals, 26% mammals are part of the IUCN Red Data book. So this is the about IUCN Red Data book. So you can expect a question. Already UPSC has asked the questions from this area. I will show you. Okay, whenever we are discussing the topics on current affairs, we just discuss about the UPSC questions also from that current affairs topic. So this is a small overview of IUCN. Definitely it requires 1 to 2 hours class to discuss about IUCN. So with the limited time, we are able to discuss this much. So understand this very clearly. Okay. So next we will proceed further. So this is the description of the various categories. So just now I told you, extinct and extinct in the wild. We have this. Then threatened species, critically endangered, vulnerable, least concern, near threatened. So this is the description. Extinct means the last individual died. The last individual has died. Example, recently, the Sumatran white rhino Sumatran white rhino in Malaysia. In Malaysia. So what happened in December 2020? The Sumatran white rhino in Malaysia, the last individual died. So that the Sumatran white rhino became extinct in Malaysia. There is no reasonable doubt that the last individual has died. Okay, same is the case with Asiatic cheetah in India. In India, there is no more Asiatic cheetah. The last individual has died. So this is extinct. Extinct in the wild means some of these species, they are surviving in the captivity or in the zoo parks. They are not in the forest areas. Critically endangered. It is facing extremely high risk of extinction in the wild. Okay, just the words endangered. The species is facing very high risk of extinction in the wild. Here it is extremely high risk of extinction. Here is very high risk of extinction. Vulnerable means facing a high risk of extinction in the wild. Example, snow leopard from India is a vulnerable species. Near threatened. Near threatened means the species is close to qualifying to the threatened category. It is close to qualify to the threatened category. Least concern, that means no need of worrying about it. The population is very good, threats are very less. Data deficient, okay, we do not have sufficient time to evaluate the data on a particular species. So this is the, about the today's topic on IUCN Red Data Book and explanation about these things. Now, is there any previous question of UPSC on the IUCN Red Data Book? So understand here, the news is some of the NGOs petitioned to the IUCN to remove least concern category, because of which IUCN is discussed in the class. So understand that very clearly. Now the question is there any question on IUCN previously? Yes, there is a question on IUCN previously in the year 2000, in the year 2011, in the year 2011 when CSAT is introduced. So what is that question? So I am taking the questions directly from the question paper. Why? Because you will feel confident that this was asked in the exam. Otherwise, simply you will say is saying the things okay, which are not came in the exam. Okay, that I don't do. Okay, so this is how it is. So see here, 2011 question. The Red Data books published by IUCN contains list of endemic plant and animal species present in biodiversity hotspots. Endemic means local. No. Okay. Threatened plant and animal species? Yes. Protected sites for conservation of nature and natural resources in various countries? No. They don't discuss about protected sites. They discuss about the species that are facing various types of threats. So obviously 1 is wrong, this will be done. Gone. 3 is wrong, this and this is gone. Only 2 is the right answer. This is asked in the UPSC Civil Service Examination 2011 question paper. So understand this very clearly. Okay. Now what are the other things? Now see here. This is one more question that is asked in the year 2012 UPSC Civil Service Examination. IUCN is concerned with the protection of biodiversity, plants, animals and fungi at global level. It identifies the habitats, it identifies threats faced by them and come out with the various scientific measures to protect them. So biodiversity is important, okay, when it comes to the IUCN topic. Okay. So there is a question. So what is the question? Biodiversity forms the basis of human existence in the following ways. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. So how biodiversity forms the basis of human existence? First thing is it helps in soil formation. Yes, biodiversity helps in soil formation. Okay, the topsoil formation or humus. Okay, it is a combination of the various types of this particular plant material and also the various types of microbes that are part of the biodiversity or life forms. Second is prevention of soil erosion. Yes, biodiversity helps in prevention of soil erosion. For example, trees that are present along the mountain slopes, they help in the prevention of soil erosion. Trees are part of biodiversity on planet Earth. That's it. Recycling of waste. Yes, the biodiversity helps in recycling of waste. For example, we have something like sea cucumber. So what is the sea cucumber? sea cucumber, it is present inside the marine areas or oceans. It filters the ocean water. Okay, it drinks the ocean water and just remove the sediments and pollutants and release the fresh water into the ocean. So recycling of waste, pollination of crops. Yes, okay, birds, bees, honeybees, they help in pollination of crops, and some of the mammals in the forest areas, they help in pollination of crops. So all these are right statements. So this is the answer. So this is how it is. Okay. So just pause the screen and write this question, 2012 question. Now next topic is Yuktadhara portal. Next topic is Yuktadhara portal. So what is this Yuktadhara portal? Very simple. See here, it is launched by Ministry of Rural Development. Okay. It is a new geospatial planning portal. Geospatial planning portal. Okay. Under Bhuvan, under ISRO's Bhuvan. So what is this Bhuvan website of ISRO? It simply comprises of all the maps, entire maps of the villages, districts and rural areas of India. Bhuvan portal. It is a geographical information system portal of India, maintained by ISRO. So as part of this particular, under this Bhuvan portal, a sub portal called as Yuktadhara portal is created. So what is this? So here Yukta means planning, Dhara means flow, developed by ISRO and Ministry of Rural Development. So what it comprises of exactly, Yuktadhara portal? See here, we have a program called as MNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. Under this program, which started in the year 2005, every household in India is eligible for 100 days of work per year, which is shown by the government authorities. So as part of the MNREGA work, simply in rural areas, people will approach the Gram Panchayat and they will just keep an application that I need some work, please show some work. Then what will happen? Within 15 days, as per the rules, within 15 days, the authorities, okay, the Gram Panchayat authority should show a work to this particular person who has kept the application. So what type of work? Various types of works are done in the rural areas, like you have the construction of roads, construction of irrigation channels, desilting of rivers, okay, just what you call the cutting of trees which are grown in a wide areas, okay, which are not having any importance. Then leveling the roads, okay, creation of durable assets like public toilets, community halls and also schools and hospitals of government. So these are all the various works done by the people under MNREGA. But for example, there is a work for construction of a school in a rural area. Okay, what this portal will do is that the work has started on a particular day. Okay, in one day, how much of work is done? You can see in this particular portal. The basement was laid. In next 2 months, how much work is done? The pillars were made. In the next 3 months, how much work is done? The entire building was completed. Okay, structurally from outwards. From next 5 months, how much work is completed? The entire building in total painting, everything was done and people are using it. So such stage by stage progress of the work of construction of school over a period of time, okay, you can understand with the Yuktadhara portal using the images, okay, provided by the ISRO under Bhuvan portal. So this is the how the Yuktadhara portal is working. The portal will help in facilitating new MNREGA assets using remote sensing, geographic information system based data. Satellite images will be taken and they will be analyzed. Day 1, how much work? Day 2, how much work? Day 100, how much work? Okay, that is the Yuktadhara portal. That is how the Yuktadhara portal is working. So what are the key features of the portal? Nothing much is there here. So see here, the portal, the NREGA works, okay, watershed management program related works, that is construction of new irrigation channels, and Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, where they will create durable assets under these programs. Okay, per drop more crop program. That means agricultural land, how it is expanding, what type of crops were laid, okay, and how much amount of area in a village is having the crop area. So all this information is part of the Yuktadhara portal. So see here very clearly. So what will be the use? The planning, the planners or simply the government authorities will come to know exactly how the work is proceeding regarding these particular schemes. Why? Because the Secretary of Ministry of Rural Development, he cannot come to a village in a Tamil Nadu and see how the work is going on for construction of school building. That is not possible. But with the use of technology, he can just analyze the satellite images by sitting on the desk in his office desk and understand how the work is progressing regarding construction of the school in a distant remote village in Tamil Nadu. For example, I am saying. So this is how the Yuktadhara portal will work. It will useful for the administrators to check the progress of the work. For example, tomorrow if you become an IAS officer, you can also use this particular portal. Okay, how much of work is done regarding road construction? How much is left over? Okay, in one day, how many kilometers of road is laid? How many people are engaged in it? Okay, how to reach the timeline targets? Okay, all this you can plan. Okay, with this particular Yuktadhara portal information. So this is about this thing. Now, if you see very clearly today related to this. So we are talking that Yuktadhara portal MNREGA program assets will be geotagged in this Yuktadhara portal. Similarly, today in the Hindu newspaper there is an article like the Tamil Nadu government has launched an urban job scheme called as Kalaignar Urban Development Scheme with 100 crore. It's a pilot project scheme recommended by former RBI Governor C. Rangarajan. And what is this? It is an urban livelihood job creation scheme similar to the MNREGA. How MNREGA will work, I told you know. From 2005, the households, all the households in India are eligible for that program. You go and apply in the Gram Panchayat. Okay. Simply what will happen? The Gram Panchayat will give the work to you. Okay, within 15 days. So the idea is to ensure that 100 days in 365 days or 1 year, the person should have job, one kind of or other kind of informal job in India. They will pay the daily wages as per the Minimum Wages Act of Government of India 1948. So all this is there as part of MNREGA, you know that. But a similar scheme for the first time, MNREGA kind of scheme for the first time is launched in urban areas. Understand that, urban areas of Tamil Nadu, first time. Okay, so what kind of work is provided to the under this particular program in Tamil Nadu? Okay, very simple. In urban areas also a lot of works are there. Like we have construction of roads. Okay, then what you call it as the cleaning of this particular sewerage tanks and planting of new urban forest. Okay, then maintenance of urban forest. Okay, all the works are filling the potholes. Okay, all these are there. Works are there in urban areas. For the first time, urban livelihood scheme was started in Tamil Nadu. For the first time, you can expect a question similar to the MNREGA. MNREGA works were kept in the Yuktadhara portal. For that, I am just linking this particular thing. Understand that very clearly. So this is how it is. So there is a question on MNREGA. The question is very simple, asked in 2011. Among the following, who are eligible to benefit from Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act? Adult member of only the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe households? No. Not the scheduled tribe. They are also there, but only, is it? It is not there. Not for the only the members of scheduled tribe and scheduled caste. No. Adult members of below poverty line households. Adult members of households of all backward communities. So backward communities means what? Okay. There is no proper definition of backward communities in India. Okay. And adult members of any households. So this is the true statement. Adult member of any household can go to the panchayat, gram panchayat, and just keep an application that I want some informal job. Within 15 days, the panchayat should ensure the job to that particular person, whether it is men or women. If that is not possible, they have to pay this particular daily wage allowances. Okay, so all this is part of the MNREGA. Just I have kept this particular question that already they have asked it. So next we'll try to understand about the biodiversity related topic. Indian scientists discover new algae. So what is this new algae discovered? So just see here, this is how it is, algae species. Okay, so scientists from Central University of Punjab, Bathinda, have discovered a new species of marine green algae from Andaman Nicobar Islands. So what is the new green algae? So it is a green seaweed named as Acetabularia jalakanayake. Acetabularia jalakanayake. It is the new algae discovered in Andaman Nicobar Islands by Indian scientists. Acetabularia jalakanayake. Remember this word clearly. Simply they will give in the question paper the term Acetabularia jalakanayake, sometimes seen in news, is related to which of the following? A new species of frog discovered in Western Ghats, a new species of bird discovered in Northeast India, a new species of fungi, a new species of algae discovered in Andaman Nicobar. It is a new species of algae, green algae discovered in Andaman Nicobar Islands. So what is this? It is a bright green algae with a size of 20 to 40 millimeters. So if you remember this fact or not, it doesn't matter. But remember the scientific name, Acetabularia jalakanayake, new species of marine algae discovered by Indian scientists in Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay, it's the first species of the genus Acetabularia discovered in India. So various types of marine algae genus are there. In that, the first time the algae belonging to Acetabularia genus was discovered in India. Something is first time, you need to focus on that. Okay, very simple. So what are the other things? Nothing much is there here. It is discovered by Indian scientists. Okay. So what is this other important? The species is highly regenerative in nature. That means even if one chops off the top portion, the algae can regrow. That means if they just cut it, okay, simply it will regrow very fastly. Acetabularia jalakanayake. First time the algae species of genus Acetabularia discovered in India. Okay, from Andaman Nicobar Islands by Indian scientists. So they are. It is part of Andaman Nicobar Island. Just see the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay, in the Indian map. So if you just see the Andaman Nicobar Islands, so they are simply just the extension of the Purvanchal Himalayas. They are just the extension of the Purvanchal Himalayas. So see here, Andaman Nicobar Islands, they are just the extension of the Purvanchal Himalayas like this. Okay, nothing about this particular Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay, they are part of the Bay of Bengal. They are part of the Bay of Bengal, and a 10-degree channel. 10-degree channel separates the Andaman Islands and the Nicobar Islands. Understand that very clearly. Then here you have the Cocoa Channel. Cocoa Channel. Cocoa Channel separates the Andaman Nicobar Islands of India and the Myanmar. Many times they asked this question. And this Great Nicobar, it is the island. It is a biosphere reserve. Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve. Okay, with the understand that. And Indira Point, it is the southernmost point of the Andaman Nicobar Islands and Andaman and India. So these are all the various facts related to Andaman Nicobar Islands. So just try to understand this particular topic of Andaman Nicobar Islands. So see here. Yesterday I have told you that UPSC focuses on a particular area, and then it gives the hint to the student that in future also I will ask the questions on this particular area. So yesterday I have demonstrated that. Today also I am demonstrating the same statement with some of the questions. In 2014, first time UPSC asked a question related to the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Then what happened? it gave a hint to the student that in future also I will ask some questions related to Andaman Nicobar Islands, whatever it may be. It may be biodiversity, it may be forest, it may be climate of Andaman, it may be geography of Andaman, mountains of Andaman. We don't know. We need to prepare for that. Okay, tribes of Andaman. Okay, so see here, 2014 one question they asked. Again 2015 they asked one more question on Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay, then this is biodiversity related. Then again in 2015 they asked the forests of the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay, and again in 2016 they have asked this particular. Okay, they have asked this particular Andaman Nicobar related question. And 2017 again one more question on Andaman Nicobar Islands. So see here, observe here. In 2014, they began to ask. Actually, they began to ask the question. I mean, the region in 2011 itself. But it is not a direct question. So that's why I took the question from 2014. The 2014 first time UPSC has asked a question. Then see here, 2014, 15, then again 16, then 17. 14, 15, 16, 17. 5 questions from that particular area. So what are they? We will try to understand. Why we are discussing these things? Why? Because a algae species is discovered, that is first time discovered in the Andaman Nicobar Islands by Indian scientists. Now, just reading that article doesn't make any sense. You need to look into the map of Andaman Nicobar and just try to know the previous questions on Andaman Nicobar. Then you will come to a conclusion that okay, I have to read these things from Andaman Nicobar Islands region as per the UPSC standard. Understand that very clearly. So to give that inputs, I am doing this particular work. Okay. So see here. So 2014 prelims questions. So what is this? Easy questions. Which of the following pairs of islands separated from each other by 10-degree channel? It is asking which of the following pairs of islands are separated by 10-degree channel. It is option A Andaman Nicobar, option B Nicobar and Sumatra, option C Maldives and Lakshadweep, option D Sumatra and Java. What is the answer? Answer is Andaman Nicobar. Andaman group of islands and Nicobar group of islands, both of them are separated by 10-degree channel. So what is this 10 degree? 10 degree means 10 degree latitude. Okay, channel is a water body. Simple. Okay, very simple. But see here. Always remember this for UPSC. Whoever seeing this video, definitely it will be useful for you. Your success in prelims. The options in UPSC, they are your future UPSC questions. The options in the UPSC are the future UPSC direct questions. Understand that very clearly in all the subjects. Okay, except the history. Why? Because history is so vast that okay, you cannot apply that concept. Okay, but all the things, economy, polity, geography, environment, science and tech, current affairs, okay, the options of the UPSC question papers are the future UPSC questions in prelims. See here in 2014 is talking about Sumatra, Java, Sumatra, Nicobar. In future he will ask something related to Sumatra and Java. What is that question? We will understand this. So this is the answer is Andaman Nicobar separated by 10-degree channel. So just now we have seen in this particular 10-degree channel. See here. Okay. So next is this particular thing. Which of the following have coral reefs? That is biodiversity related to Andaman Nicobar Islands. So coral reefs are marine life forms. They are present in India in the following locations. They are present in Gulf of Mannar. They are present in Andaman Nicobar. They are present in Lakshadweep. They are also present in the Gulf of Kutch. In Gulf of Combat, you do not have the coral reefs. You have coral reefs in the Goa. You have coral reefs in Karnataka. Remember that very clearly. Okay. So all this, which of the following have coral reefs? Andaman Nicobar has coral reefs. Gulf of Kutch has coral reefs. Gulf of Mannar has coral reefs. Sundarbans do not have coral reefs. The east coast of India do not have the coral reefs. Understand this. The east coast of India do not have the coral reefs. The east coast of India do not have the coral reefs. Okay, so understand this very clearly. Okay, so this is the answer is definitely the answer will be okay 1, 2 and 3. That is you have here 1, 2, 3. Okay, like that. Next, see here 2015 again Andaman related. Which one of the following regions of India has a combination of mangrove forest, evergreen forest, and deciduous forest? Understand this. Very application oriented question. If you take Andaman Nicobar Islands, so it is very much near to 0-degree equator. So obviously the southern portion has got the evergreen forest. The southern portion has got the evergreen forest. The northern part of Andaman is near to tropical region. It has a dry deciduous forest. The coastal area of Andaman has got the mangrove forest. It is the Andaman Nicobar Islands right answer. So this is how the things are there in the UPSC Civil Service exam. Now see here again 2016 one more question, current affairs related Andaman. Recently our scientists means Indian scientists discovered a new and distinct species of banana plant which attains a height of about 11 meters and has orange color fruit pulp. In which part of India it is discovered? It is in current affairs related to Andaman. So Andaman Islands, very simple. The main theme here is how UPSC asks the questions by giving hints to students. Now see here, what are the other things? Just now I told you, the options in the questions will be the future questions. The options in the questions will be the future questions directly. 2017 prelims question, which of the following is geographically close to Great Nicobar? So Great Nicobar Island, it is part of Andaman Nicobar Islands. Biosphere Reserve. Geographically close to which? Sumatra Island, Java Island, or Borneo, or Sri Lanka. People will eliminate Borneo. People will eliminate Sri Lanka, but they will have a lot of confusion between Sumatra and Java. So Andaman Nicobar Islands, Great Nicobar is here. Here you have Sumatra. Here you have Java. So this is Java. This is Sumatra. Sumatra is the right answer. Okay, but the same Sumatra, Java, you can see the options in 2014 prelims question paper. That means in future I will ask the question from Sumatra and Java. Read about it. In future I will ask I will ask the questions about Nicobar and Sumatra. I will frame the questions. Prepare for it. Okay. In future, I will ask the questions related to Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep, commonly coral reefs. Prepare for it. The suggestions will be given by UPSC to the students, but we simply ignore it and fail in the prelims or any other stage of the UPSC Civil Service exam. So UPSC is very good actually. It will give the suggestions to the student that I am going to ask the question in future from this area. Prepare for this area and get success, get the rank and get out of this cycle of UPSC preparation. Okay, and be part of national development. But many people are not understanding it and simply they are just jumping from one coaching center to another coaching center, one test series to another test series, finally not even clearing the prelims. So Malabar exercise. So what is this Malabar exercise? The Quad countries. Definitely this year prelims you can expect a question. Quad countries are India, USA, Australia, Japan. Quad means quadrilateral, 4 countries. Okay, quadrilateral countries, India, USA, Australia, Japan will conduct the next edition of Malabar naval exercise of the coast of Guam. Guam is the West Pacific Ocean island. Guam is the West Pacific Ocean island. Here you have the Guam. Okay, it is the Western Pacific Ocean island. Okay. So here they are going to conduct the next year Malabar naval exercises. Who are part of it? Quad countries: India, US, Australia, Japan. So see here. Okay, they are going to conduct the India is going to take the INS Shivalik, INS Kadamat, okay, to the Guam, which is the island territory of United States. in the Western Pacific Ocean. That means the island is in the control of the United States of America. People are living there, okay, but it is under the control of the United States of America, and United States of America laws applies there. Very simple. So this is the news. Guam is in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, remember this, and a territory of United States of America. So see here, the Malabar exercise started in 1992 as a bilateral naval exercise between Indian Navy and USA Navy in Indian Ocean. First step, understand this, where it started, 1992, between the navies of US and India. But Japan became a permanent member of the Malabar exercise in 2015, Japanese Navy. Then what happened? Australia participated in Malabar exercise in 2020. Okay. Understand, making it a 4-member group of naval exercise in 2020 of Quad countries. So what are the Quad countries? Remember that fact also. Quad countries are, you can see here, India, USA, Australia, Japan. Okay, they are Quad is a security alliance. Quad is a security alliance. So they are, Quad countries are 4 countries. They work on various security related aspects: maritime security, okay, military security, defense cooperation, okay, buying and selling of arms, sharing the intelligence information, and working on the electronic satellite surveillance projects. So all these are there. So just remember, Quad countries, naval exercise Malabar, conducted in the next year 2021, Guam. So remember this fact. So it's a simple factual information, but definitely they may ask the question: the Guam country, where it is located? Western Pacific, Eastern Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean, Western Pacific Ocean, it will be the right answer. So Quad countries, like that they will ask, or simply they may frame a difficult question on Malabar, when it started, when Japan participated, when Australia participated, okay, all these things they will ask in the UPSC. Okay, so what is this Kriwak frigates? Kriwak frigates. So what is this? This is the Kriwak frigate. You see here, Kriwak frigate. What is this? Okay, so it is a naval ship. Basically, it is a naval ship. So of Indian Navy, Kriwak frigates belongs to Indian Navy. It is a naval ship. So it is used for various naval operations like destroying enemy submarines and surface ships of enemies. So this particular Kriwak frigates supports the naval forces during air, surface, subsurface missions. Okay, why? Because on the top of it they carry huge amount of missile related equipment, so that they can just fire and kill the targets in the air. They can just fire the targets at the surface, and also they can just fire the targets, that is submarines, subsurface targets also they can fire, that is submarines. So see here, the Kriwak frigates of Indian Navy, they are fitted with BrahMos anti-ship cruise missile. BrahMos anti-ship cruise missile. Okay, making it the world's most heavily armored 4,000-ton warship. Basically, Kriwak frigate, it is a warship. It is a warship of Indian Navy, but it carries what is called as BrahMos missile. BrahMos missiles. Understand this very clearly. Okay. Simply they will ask the Kriwak frigates. Okay, what they are? They are simply the warships of Indian Navy carrying the BrahMos missiles, and since they carry huge amount of missiles, BrahMos missiles, the weight has become very heavy, and it is the world's most heaviest armored warship. Okay, understand that very clearly. So this is about the Kriwak frigates, but there is some background why it is in news. Why? Because so see here, we are bringing this Kriwak warships or Kriwak frigates from Russia. So already we have in 2016 India and Russia intergovernmental agreement for 4 Kriwak or Talwar class stealth frigates. 2 will be procured directly from Russia and 2 will be built in the Goa Shipyard Limited of Goa. So that we learn how to build these particular things. Already two we bought from the Russia, two we are building in India. Our Indian engineers, they are building it. So see here, everything is good and fine with Kriva, but what about the BrahMos? What about the BrahMos? Because it is fitted with the BrahMos anti-ship cruise missile. We need to understand some facts about BrahMos. So what is this? The BrahMos means Brahmaputra and Moskova rivers. BrahMos missile means Brahmaputra and Moskova river name were given to the BrahMos missile. So it is a missile project of both India and Russia. Both India and Russia joint missile development project started in 1998. Understand that very clearly. So as part of this, the BrahMos missiles were manufactured or produced and they were inducted into the Indian tri-services. Army, Navy, Air Force, they are using the BrahMos. BrahMos was the first, it was launched in the year 2001 and since then has conducted numerous launches from various ships, mobile autonomous launches as well as Sukhoi MKI aircraft. So they were launched first time in 2001 and they were used in various ship launches and mobile launches on the road and also from the aircrafts. Very simple. They can be fired from land, they can be fired from air, they can be fired from naval ships. Very simple. Okay, that is how it is. So what is this? It is the world's fastest supersonic cruise missile. Okay, we have it. Okay, so it can be installed on the ships. It can be fitted to the submarines, it can be fitted to the aircraft and it can be fitted to the ground vehicles like a moving train, like a moving lorry, like a moving a tanker of army. So like this, understand these facts very clearly. Okay, these are all current affairs topics. So what is the range of BrahMos missile? 290 km. What do you mean by range of a missile? Simply see here from the center point. Range means 290 km. If you fire, it will go this side 290 km, this side 290, this side 290. This is entirely the range of BrahMos missile. So speed, it can reach up to a maximum speed of Mach 3. What do you mean by Mach? The speed of sound is measured in terms of Mach. So Mach 3, that means 3 times the speed of sound. How much it is? Maximum speed of BrahMos missile 3704 km per hour. You cannot imagine how much speed it will go. Okay, it is a fire and forget type missile with a weight of 3 tons. Fire and forget means just the missile should be given a target. Simply you just feed that particular target information into the missile. You fire it, forget about it. Missile will go and hit the target. Such a precision and accuracy is there for this particular BrahMos missile. So see here, it can intercept the surface targets at an altitude of up to 10 meters to 14,000 meters. It can just move or intercept the targets from the surface 10 meters minimum to maximum 14,000 meters. The first BrahMos missile test fired in 2001, already that was given in second slide. So it is a two-stage missile. Remember this very clearly. Two-stage missile. First stage uses solid fuel. Second stage uses liquid fuel. Understand that very clearly. BrahMos missile, it is a two-stage missile. Understand this. First stage and second stage. In the first stage, it uses solid fuel. In the second stage, it uses liquid fuel with a ramjet engine. Inbuilt ramjet engine. BrahMos missile. It can be fitted with the this particular already inducted into the Army, Navy and Air Force. It can be fired from land, from the ships and also from the air. Okay, its maximum range is 290 kilometers. Maximum speed is 3704 kilometers per hour. Okay, understand that it is a two-stage missile. First stage solid, second stage liquid. Understand that very clearly. Okay, so these are all the facts related to the BrahMos missile. All the facts related to the BrahMos missile. So see here, it can cruise up to a maximum altitude of 15 kilometers and up to a low terminal altitude of 10 meters. That means what? It can fly at a very low altitude of 10 meters from the Earth's surface. Just move from if you imagine this is the Earth's surface. 10 meters from the Earth's surface it can move. It can cruise up to a maximum altitude of 15 kilometers. That means from the land surface to a maximum height of 15 kilometers also it can move. From just 10 meters to the surface and to the maximum height of 15 kilometers from the surface it can move. That was the meaning here. And it will carry a conventional warhead, that means not the nuclear warhead, of up to 200 to 300 kgs. So this is about the BrahMos missile. And today there is a short topic about the world affairs, that is the Lebanon crisis is going on. So already questions were asked. So this is Lebanon. This is the country of Lebanon with its capital Beirut. So Lebanon is having the borders with the Mediterranean Sea. It has borders with Syria. It has borders with Israel. Understand that very clearly. Okay, Lebanon country. So this is the West Asian country. So what is going on here in Lebanon? So just try to understand here. I'll give some inputs. Lebanon has got it is a mountainous country, part of West Asia, and it is having Mediterranean type of climate. It is basically an agrarian economy, exporting this particular citrus fruits to other countries because they grow in huge numbers because of the Mediterranean type of climate. What happened to this particular Lebanon country recently? We'll try to understand very simple. Hindu editorial it was given. So it got independence from France in 1973. Basically, it is a multi-ethnic country. Okay, Christians are there, Muslim communities, Shia and Sunnis are there. But what happened to this particular Mediterranean type of country? So in 2020, Beirut port, okay, there is a huge blast. Okay, the what you call the ammonium nitrate was being stored in the Beirut port, okay, at the Mediterranean coast, and simply blasted off. And from that blast, the beginning of economic crisis in Lebanon, you can observe. Okay, more than 200 people killed and many people injured, and a lot of infrastructure damage to the Beirut port city. Beirut is the capital of Lebanon. So what is it happening right now? Currently facing severe economic downturn. Okay, and more than 50% of population, okay, they are living in the poverty. And the currency value of this particular Lebanon country fell down by 90% according to the IMF, International Monetary Funds. And IMF is not giving new loans to this particular country. Why? Because there is a mismanagement of financial resources and loans, and also there is mismanagement or misgovernance in the administration. Okay, understand that very clearly. And the country is facing food and fuel shortages. Half of the population is living in poverty. Currency value fell down by 90%. GDP came down, and a lot of other economic crises are coming up in this particular country. Okay, so what is the reason why this particular country became like this? Lebanon is a very good country. I mean, a medium level developing country. The reasons are political instability, and political sectarian ideologies. So multi-ethnic country, Christians are there, Shia Muslims are there, Sunni Muslims are there. Everybody thinking about their own interest. They are not collectively thinking about the national interest. So obviously political sectarian ideologies. Example, the president should be a Christian according to the Constitution of Lebanon. Prime Minister should be Sunni and parliamentary speaker should be Shia. All of them, they are working to improve their own communities, rather than thinking on the lines of national development, like thinking on the lines of unity in diversity. That is missing in this particular country. And the mismanagement of financial resources, sectarian politics dominating in Lebanon. Everybody thinking about their own group, own community, own religion. Okay, whoever are there in power. So obviously what will happen? They do not have the collective national interest. And finally, such national level crisis will occur. So misgovernance, lack of effective law and order in this particular country. So all these are there for this it is in news. So here we stop this particular topic on current affairs, and tomorrow we will proceed with some other current affairs. So here today we saw the 6 topics. Overall we have seen the 6 topics like IUCN Red Data book, then what you call this particular Yuktadara portal, then Indian new algae discovery, then what you call the Malabar exercise, Kriva warship or frigate, then BrahMos cruise missile, then Lebanon crisis. Okay, thank you friends, have a nice day.